Basically, the Buddha encouraged us to practice dana, which means giving, sharing, in a way that makes us feel happy. And particularly in the beginning of our practice, that may just be whatever kind of generosity or sharing that is available to us that we feel comfortable and happy to do. So it may be helping a particular person in our circle of acquaintances or families, sharing things with them, giving them support. Maybe someone in our neighborhood or where we live. It could be a charity, it could be helping the sick by volunteering or giving some kind of support. At this time, there's a lot of people who are out of work or have lost income, so there's a lot of different volunteering and charity going on in the form of just sharing food, cooking for others, giving away free meals to people who suddenly have lost their income. So sharing dana that makes us feel happy in the doing of it and is something that's useful for society is a good starting point. But also dana that supports the religion, particularly Sangha, monks and nuns, giving material support to them. It's a special kind of dana because it draws your mind closer to the teachings and gives rise to many other good qualities that support your practice. Because if you support Sangha, it brings you close to the Sangha, so you hear teachings, you get the example of people who are practicing renunciation, and that can be a great support to your own practice of renunciation, keeping the precepts, learning to meditate. Because it's reinforcing your own aspiration for spiritual liberation when you associate with those who are practicing it. And Sangha, they've given up income and the material happiness of life. They're living without any kind of income or money, living in a way that they are dependent on the support of laity. So when we support Sangha, we get a particular kind of happiness, and we get many good qualities arise in our mind. Obviously, we're letting go of our own attachments to material things, some of our possessiveness, stinginess, but we're also aspiring to the higher Dhamma of Nibbana when we support Sangha. So it's sooner or later, if you are aspiring to follow the Buddhist path, it will become a part of your practice is to support Sangha in one way or another. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be one spoonful of rice if that's all you've got, or it can be the smallest act of kindness or support. As indeed any kind of charity or dana we practice, how much or how little is only part of the story. More important is our intention, whether there's a genuine intention to give, to let go of one's own attachment, to support something that is good out of compassion and also out of wisdom. And you'll find when you practice dana with a pure heart, with a genuine intention, it gives you a good feeling at the time of doing it, and it gives you a good memory. So like for myself, I can remember when I was a lay person supporting monks and nuns in different monasteries. I was a student, so I didn't have a lot of money, but I was willing to help and to share what I had. And I can still remember those occasions today, almost 40 years ago, with happiness. So I understand when other people feel happy to practice generosity in whatever way, why are they happy? I can understand that because I've done it myself. So it's a very good thing, a very necessary thing in the world to practice dana, and it just means learning to share or give what you have. What you have available, your own knowledge, your kindness of heart, your time, your energy, your material things, whatever it is. Sometimes in Buddhism people get this idea, dana is only worth giving if you have a lot. If you're wealthy, then you can really do something good and give a lot of money or a big donation or something. And of course, if you're in a position to give a lot of charity, and there are those people in the world, well, that can be an amazing thing, can do a lot of good. But it's not essential to have a lot to be able to practice dana. You might have just a little and you can still practice, because more important is your intention. The genuine intention to let go of something you have and to share with others out of compassion, out of seeing the benefit of that. So I often remember the story from the monastery in Bangkok, where it's a city monastery and people frequent city monasteries every day. Large numbers of people visit as tourists or visit the monks, participate in events, ceremonies, teaching programs and so on. They're busy places. So often they have beggars set up there. People who have no income, no possessions, and rely on begging for their livelihood. And there was this occasion, this one beggar was in one of these city temples, and he had his own corner in the courtyard of the monastery. And every day he would sit there, barefoot, just wearing rags, sit on the ground with his little pot to collect money. Very patient in the heat, in the dust. He would sit there day after day. That was his job. That was what he did. And he just lived in a tiny little shack not far from the temple with no possessions. And he did this every day. And most people just hardly noticed him. He was just part of the furniture, but of course some people would put some coins in his little pot. And in that monastery, as is normal from time to time, monasteries, that monastery was an old monastery, so they had to pull down the main meditation hall because it was just too old. It had needed to be rebuilt. So they pulled it down and were rebuilding it, and they had a program, a project to raise funds to rebuild this meditation hall. So there were lots of events and people would come every day, offer food, offer donations towards the building of the hall. And that beggar was there all through this period. It went on for a couple of years, I believe. And towards the end of the time where they were raising funds to build the new hall and the construction was going ahead, one day there was what we call a Sangha Dana offering. People came to offer food, other requisites and donations to support the monastery and to build the hall, and the monks were lined up and people were making their offerings, and after everyone made their offerings, the beggar came into the hall with a big plastic bag and deposited it in front of the abbot of the monastery. Very heavy, he struggled to lift it onto the platform where the monk was sitting. And the abbot knew the beggar, obviously, because he saw him every day, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing here today?" And he said, "Oh, I want to make my donation." And the abbot was a bit surprised because he's a beggar, but was very gracious and kind, so said, "Okay, you can make your donation and we'll give you a blessing." So the bags were placed there and the monks gave the beggar a blessing, and then the bags were taken somewhere and emptied out, and they were full of coins, some notes but mostly coins. And somebody had to spend a long time counting because they were big bags and very heavy. And they counted around 1 million baht, which is a lot for anyone, let alone a beggar. So when they found out the amount, they went back to the beggar and they said, "Where did you get all this money from?" And he said, "Well, you've seen me the last 20, 30, whatever years. I've been sitting here and people are kind, they share their money with me, a few coins every day. And I don't need much. I only need my food for the day and a roof over my head, so I've been able to save. And every day I've been sitting here begging. I've watched other people come into the monastery and make offerings, and they always go away happy. Their faces are happy having made their offering. They go home content, happy that they've done something good. And I've always had the thought in my mind, I want that happiness. I want to experience that as well. All my life I've been begging. I want to be able to give and share like those people. So this is my day, this is my chance. So even a beggar can give if the heart is there and there's the wisdom to see the value of it. Anyone can practice dana in whatever way they can.
That our minds, of course, want to avoid and resist this giving, this generosity, and so that we don't want to do those things. We're selfish, we're stingy, we want to keep everything for ourselves. And so this is a way to develop, this is a way to clean, to wipe away those things which are unclean, which are unwholesome in our minds.
เนี่ยให้พิจารณาอย่างนั้นอันนี้ประการหนึ่งควรให้มีในใจของเรานะไม่ใช่บางคนจะเห็นว่าอย่างนั้นก็เบียดเบียนตัวเองที่ไม่ใช่เบียดเบียนตัวเบียดเบียนกิเลสต่างหากนะทำให้ตัวมันดีขึ้นมาให้กิเลสมันหายไปบางคนจะเขาอย่างนั้นก็เบียดเบียนตัวที่เบียดเบียนเจ้าของเนี่ยอย่างนั้นไม่ใช่นั่นเบียดเบียนกิเลส
So this is one thing that we all should try and develop and make useful things in our lives. And some of us may think when we hear this, oh, we're taking advantage, we're exploiting ourselves, and we're not looking after ourselves. But he says, in fact, that's not the case. That you're exploiting and taking and overcoming one's defilements, one's kilesa.